Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club. Thank you for listening again. I think that this week I've got a really good and important topic as well. Something that, in general, I think a lot of people ask me about, a lot of people want to know about. Of course, the biggest question I get is how to actually reach this lifestyle and how to get there. And something I notice very often with that topic is what people kind of do and don't do in order to actually obtain this lifestyle. And that's what I want to talk about, because I think a lot of people say, oh, I really want to do or really want to live the way you live, but they don't actually get there. And I want to discuss a bit more about why I think that is, what I've seen with other people around me who have or who have not managed to have the digital nomad lifestyle. So that's what I want to get into today. So if you're curious about that, if you've before said, oh, I want to be a digital nomad, but you haven't reached it, or it's just something that you're thinking about and you want to do this rather, quicker than later, then keep listening. As a quick personal update, I am, of course, still in Italy, still in the same spot, still doing my work exchange. It is now week 3, and it's been going really well. I'm now a lot more into the normal routine, so it's been going really well. I've got my hours that I have to work, and because I now know a lot more about the work itself, there's not that much or that many new impressions. There's not much more for me to learn. Which makes the work a bit more relaxed, and I can honestly just sit there and also work on my actual job, which is really nice. So right now it's just a really good combination. Last week I spent most of the week working, and what else did I do? Not much really. I just worked. I didn't feel so great last week. I think it was just a combination of bad weather, also my periods. I just didn't feel well. But this week already a lot better, which is why I'm actually recording this podcast on time this time, which is go me. And in the weekend, my Italian date came over, and we drove around some other towns here in the south, which has been really nice. I just can't get over how good the food is in Italy and just how nice all of the towns are. They're all very similar, but they're all so nice. The food is really good. It's been really nice. I'm definitely going to miss that when I leave. But on a much bigger, much more exciting note, I have bought my plane tickets. Of course, the basic one to get from Italy back to the Netherlands, that's going to be in the second week of December. I'm going home for Christmas and New Year's. I just think that's a really nice time to be back in the Netherlands with family and friends. I only see them a couple times a year, and I think the holidays are just a nice time to be there. I always also really enjoy it. My birthday is also on the 24th of December. Yeah, lucky me. I get to celebrate Christmas and my birthday in one. So just a good time to go back. Plus, I don't really fancy sitting in a country by myself during Christmas. It's just nice to be back home. But more importantly, I have booked my flights for my next big destination, which is going to be Thailand. So the second week of January, which means I'll spend a whole month in the Netherlands, I am going to fly to Thailand. The plan is I'm probably going to be in Bangkok for about a month. I know that's not maybe the most exciting, but I do think there's a lot to do in Bangkok. I've already been to Thailand, but 10 years ago. It was one of my first countries in Southeast Asia. Actually, the first country in Southeast Asia. And I really, really, really enjoyed Thailand. And I've always wanted to come back. For the past 2 years, it was the goal to go, or it was my plan to go back to Southeast Asia. But every time plans change, things happened. Men happened, I think, mainly. I actually wanted to go this year in January, back to Thailand. But then my then boyfriend, now ex, convinced me to come with him to Peru, which was also really nice. But that means that I still haven't been back to Southeast Asia, even though I really, really enjoyed it. So finally, in January, I'm going to go to Thailand. And of course, I'm going to bring all of you with me to tell you what the digital nomad lifestyle is like there. I've now experienced this year in South America, and then went back to Europe. I was in the Netherlands, I was in Greece, in Italy. And then next year, I honestly think that next year I want to be in Southeast Asia the whole year. Of course, I'm going to have to do some trips, probably back home a couple times, or yeah, actually, that's probably it. I'll probably go back to the Netherlands a couple times. I usually go back for the summer, and life events or family things or whatever generally bring me back to the Netherlands at least a couple times a year. But other than that, the plan is to be in Southeast Asia for the rest of the whole of 2026. So I'm super excited for this. I want to go to Thailand. I want to go to Vietnam, maybe Cambodia, Philippines. And I also do want to see if I can make it to South Korea and Taiwan. And if for whatever reason next year is amazing, maybe a quick visit to Japan. I went there last year and I loved it. So, but let's see. That at least is my plan. Now you're all up to date on what happened in my life the last week. Work has been good, actually quite busy because there's a lot of things I have to wrap up. So that's also why this combined with the work exchange has been a bit difficult to manage. But I got a lot of stuff still done last week and a bit over the weekend. And at least this week is already starting a whole lot better than last week. So I'm confident. Now let's get into the actual topic of this week, which is, like I said before, many people tell me that they want to be a digital nomad. They look at my lifestyle and say, oh, I want that too. I want to live the way that you live. I want to be able to combine work and traveling, see the world. And in general, I think, I don't know, live a different lifestyle. Have it be more exciting or more freedom or whatever it is they're searching for. And I hear it all the time from friends, from family. They say, oh, I want the same thing. And then what happens is they take absolutely not a single step towards actually achieving this lifestyle, which, I mean, I don't blame them. But then I'm wondering, but do you then actually want this lifestyle? And I think that is just a good thing for anyone to figure out, because I feel like a lot of people tell me that they want this because they think it looks nice, but they don't actually truly understand what it means or really truly want it. Because this lifestyle really is nothing more than being okay with uncertainty, not having a lot of stability, and the flexibility. That's something that you have to be okay with, that you give up on a bit of that certainty and stability in order to have this much freedom and flexibility. But of course, everything comes kind of with a price. So I think they say that they want it, but actually they don't. They don't take a single action towards it. So I think they just like how it sounds, or they like how kind of the image that it gives them. It's more like almost more like an ego thing instead of actually wanting this lifestyle, which I understand. I mean, I sometimes also say like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I don't actually, because otherwise I would make it happen, right? And I would take action towards making that happen. So therefore, I feel like, well, if you don't do that, you must not actually want it that well, or that if you don't actually take action, you might not want it that bad. So yeah, I think they like the idea of what I do, of going traveling, sitting in different countries, different cafes, working from there, seeing the world. But actually nothing in their life tells me that they would actually enjoy this, because they've never tried it, they've never done it, they've, again, not taken a single step towards it. And many things what they do contradict wanting to do this, which I've always found interesting. And I think that happens in many people's life, where they say they want something, yet they don't do it. And I think that also comes down to, well, again, those two things. Do you actually want to? Do you like the idea of it? But the next thing is, it's both fear. I think all of it is rooted in fear. And with that comes a bit of that self-sabotaging. So a lot of people fear leaving everything behind at home, changing their lifestyles. And of course, for me, I feel like it maybe was a bit easier because I never really had that stability as much. I had an apartment, but I've always worked for myself, which meant that my income and my work was already quite unstable. Always has been. But I've never had a 9 to 5 office job. I've only ever rented, so I never bought an apartment. The foundations I built back in the Netherlands were already a bit weaker because I'd already traveled so much. So for me, that was never a big issue, but I can understand that for a lot of people, it's a fear to let that go. You've built something, you have it, it works. It might not be exactly what you want, or you might not be super happy about it, but it's there and it works, it's safe. And letting that go for something that is very unstable comes with quite a few risks. It's a bit of the unknown. There might be loneliness. You don't know how to exactly do it. And I think what happens then is that people sometimes go the opposite way. And instead of taking steps towards what they want, they take steps in the opposite way, in a way of, I think, self-sabotaging. So people will say they want this lifestyle, but then they buy a house. Or they say, I really want to do the same kind of work, but then they get a contract at a big company and work in an office from 9 to 5. And then they don't put in any effort to build something of their own. Or, somehow they built this life that is almost contrasted. Or is that a word? Can I say that? That is in contrast? Anyway, that is opposite of the digital nomad lifestyle. So, there's many things I don't do because this lifestyle doesn't allow me to do it, and I have to be okay with that. I live out of a suitcase. I barely go shopping. I don't get to decorate a house. I don't even look for houses. I live, I think, very simple. Because again, I only have a suitcase. Everything I buy has to come with me. I don't get to decorate anything. Nothing that I have is mine. So there are things that I just don't get to do. Same for example, something stupid as playing an instrument. I love playing piano, but that's not something I can travel with. So unfortunately, I never get to play piano. So it really depends also, I think, on what you value and what you want in your life. But a lot of people make a lot of decisions that keep them stuck and that keep them safe, and it's stable. So I completely understand, but that's just not going to work if you do want this lifestyle. And I think that's some of the first things that you need to figure out. First is, do you actually really want this lifestyle? Or do you want to live with that much uncertainty and to live out of a suitcase, the very simple. At least I do. I know there's also digital nomads who somehow make a shit ton of money and spend it all and live these flashy lives. But I feel like 90% of us, this is kind of how we live. It's very simple. It's very basic, but we do have the freedom and flexibility to do whatever. Is that really what you want? Or do you like the idea of it, but not actually doing it yourself? Or is it more an ego thing and do you just want to brag about doing this? But that's it. So is it more to impress other people? Do you actually genuinely want this? Because I've been doing this for years, and for years of that, I never shared anything on social media. The first big trips I did 7 months of traveling, then I did 5 months. That was before the whole age of social media. Like there's nothing for me to brag about. I just went and traveled and then came back, and some people knew I went away, some people didn't. Of course, I love talking about it, don't get me wrong. It's travel. I love talking about travel, but I never did it to brag or to prove something to other people. I did it to prove it to myself and because I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't about other people. So I think that's a good question to ask yourself. Do you actually really want this for yourself or for other people? Or maybe you just want to break from your current life, which is also fine. But then do it for a couple months so that you can go back to that stability, or figure out a way to combine it. The way I do it, I don't have a home base, but I also know digital nomads that do. They have their base, they have a bit of that flexibility or stability, sorry, while still having the flexibility of a digital nomad lifestyle, which is, I think, also a smart way to do it. And I think with that comes the question, if you actually want to travel, or do you want to just escape from what you have now back home? Because if it's an escape, I don't think that's going to go well. Again, I've traveled because I was escaping or because I wanted to leave a certain place, and it works short term, but in the end, you're always going to, I think, run into yourself, if that makes sense. And long term, I just don't think it works. It's travel, again, it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't just magically heal you or make you feel better. You're still going to be there. So if you felt shit before leaving, you'll feel shit while traveling. The only difference is now you get to cry in Thailand instead of in your home country. That's really the only difference. So don't use this as an escape. It is really, truly just a different lifestyle that you would, and in this lifestyle, you have the same problems that you might have now. Different, but there's still many people that travel and don't feel well. The same way that you would feel bad at home, you might feel bad while you're traveling, which comes with its own difficulties, I would say, because feeling shitty in a different country can definitely hit a bit harder, but still. That's, I think, a good question to ask yourself. And then, is it worth for you to change some of your habits and your priorities and the way you live? Because it will have to change. I think you will have to be quite self-motivated to do this, especially if you're going to work for yourself. But even if you work remote for a company, it's still up to you to make sure that you have good schedule, that you have the right workspace, that you make sure you're in a good place to work in general. And can you handle all the uncertainty that comes with the digital nomad lifestyle? And if you go to all these questions and you think, you know what, I'm not actually sure if that fits me, that's very fair. I think maybe if I would have heard all these questions 10 years ago, I might have not thought it was for me. And I don't want any of this to scare away anyone, because I do think the digital nomad lifestyle, is great. That's why I'm doing it. And again, I don't want this to scare you away, but then maybe be realistic and first think, okay, let me then take small steps to see if I can do this. I didn't just move to Southeast Asia with my laptop and figured it out, right? I prepared. I slowly got into traveling more and more. I started working for myself while living in one place, build up my income and my confidence, and then I started traveling. Of course, you can do the quicker route. I wouldn't have the patience to wait 5 years to start working online and traveling. But still, you can take small steps to do it. And I think that's also the shift that needs to come with that. Try and see in your life, okay, what are the decisions that I can slowly make to go towards this digital nomad lifestyle. That doesn't mean immediately giving up your job. That means figuring out, how could I, maybe in 6 months or to a year, replace my current job? How would I do that? Do I want to find a remote job? Do I want to start my own company? Do I want to start selling digital products? I don't know, whatever it is. Figure that out. See, okay, maybe I do have a house. Am I going to sell it? Am I going to lease it? Can I end my lease maybe at some point if you're renting? And then start, if you already can, take small trips where you're working during that trip. And maybe your work allows you to work from abroad for a bit. Try that. Or if you're already working for yourself or online, go on some trips. See what it's like. And then slowly you get into the habit, but also I think you just get hooked on this lifestyle where you just want to do it more and more and more. And slowly you can build a life that fits the digital nomad lifestyle, including getting rid of a lot of stuff. I used to own a lot more when I lived in Germany. Of course, you gather so much stuff, and it's also very freeing to just give all of that away or sell it, or even just put it in a box and put it in a storage if you don't want to get rid of it. Just owning less feels really freeing. Slowly getting your life in order so that you can do this lifestyle. I think that's not necessarily an overnight thing, but there are lots of small steps that you can take if you really want to make this happen. And again, main thing is probably just removing a lot of the things that keep you stuck and figuring out what to do with them. And the main one is housing and job. And I think the rest will come. Then you have to, of course, start saving up. You create a small buffer. You build your confidence in travel. It really helps if you find other people that already have this lifestyle, so that you can see how other people do it, get inspired, and slowly find out what works for you and how you want to. And really, if it is for you as well. Maybe after doing this for a year, you realize, you know what, I'm over it. I don't like it. Or you might do this for 10 years and then think, okay, now I've had enough. Maybe, I mean, the same goes for me, right? I've been doing this now for 2 years, and I think I'll definitely still do it for the whole year next year. But maybe at some point I realize, okay, now I've had enough. Which is something else that this may be for a different podcast, but it always pisses me off when people say, oh yeah, but you'll grow out of this, or you'll get tired of traveling. I don't know, maybe. Like, why is that such a big deal? Why does that matter? Like, I'm really enjoying it now. Why does it matter if I don't like it anymore next year? I also used to love the color yellow. Like, I had yellow shoes. I don't anymore. So I did then. I just don't get the argument, as if what I'm doing now is therefore pointless. I don't know. So don't let that scare you. Try it, even if it's just for even if it's for 6 months, like, try it. Maybe you'll love it, maybe it works and you can do it for years, maybe not, but then you've at least tried it and you've tried different lifestyles. Because I think it's so easy to just go with what almost like society tells you to do, as if that's the only way to live. You graduate, find a job, find a partner, buy a house, get married, have babies, and then you're done. And that's completely fine if that's the lifestyle you want, because I know many people around me that have that lifestyle. They seem happy. That's what they wanted. They got it. Very happy about that. If it's not, though, you're going to have to take a risk, because that is the standard. And I feel like the world's been set up for that lifestyle. So anything that deviates from that lifestyle is a risk. But I do think it's worth it. Just try it, see the possibility, see how you can also live your life differently from, I think, what we see or have been told always. Because I can guarantee you, when you do, you'll see that traveling on your own, being a digital nomad, making friends it is not that scary. Actually, it's not scary at all. And that's not to say that I'm never stressed or anxious or panicky. I am. But it is always worth it in the end. And I think you learn so much from this lifestyle, or from traveling in general. I mean, you don't immediately have to become a digital nomad full time, but just solo traveling in general, you learn a lot. And that's also why I tell people, I think when it comes to traveling solo, but doing any big trip or becoming a digital nomad, that perfect moment, I think, will never arrive. It will never be the exact perfect moment where you say, now I have exactly enough money, I'm exactly confident enough, it's exactly the right time in my life, now I'm going to go travel. I'm not sure if that ever comes. I think you have to create it. And I think that's very different from when people say, oh, I'll do it one day when, stars align. Like, you are going to have to make things align so that you can go and take a risk or take that step and go and travel or move or take a different job or whatever it is that you want, or whatever the reason is that you're listening to my podcast or following me online. You're gonna have to take a risk if you want to be a digital nomad or if you want to solo travel, and it will never truly feel like it's the best moment until you do it, and then you realize, okay, this was probably how it was supposed to be. Even if it fails, I have left or gone home from trips early because I didn't feel well, and I realized I'm not in the right headspace or not in the right country, or just it doesn't feel right. And also that had its reasons, and also that was good, and it still taught me a lot, and it doesn't mean that I failed or that traveling was not for me. It didn't mean that either. So yes, it will be scary to take these steps, to go on your first trip, to change jobs or start for yourself, but I can guarantee you that it will be worth it. Even if you realize after a couple months that it's not for you, you still tried it. And just trying it and failing, or not even failing, trying it, realizing it's not for you, or then changing course again, that's also, I think, a really good big achievement. Because I personally rather try 100 things and fail at 99, and then find the one thing that I really enjoy that works and that's for me, than just sticking with the first thing I find and then being kind of unhappy the rest of my life. I probably won't be a digital nomad for the rest of my life, but it works really well for me now, and right now I really, really enjoy it. So I'm going to keep doing it. And I can only hope that everyone has the experience to travel solo and maybe even be a digital nomad. So if you want this, again, start making decisions that will actually get you to this lifestyle. Do it as slow as you need to, but slowly make decisions that keep you less and less stuck to your current situation. Let go of that stability. And I know that that's scary, and I know that that's difficult, but that is the biggest thing, I think, standing in the way of probably where you are now to the digital nomad lifestyle. It is giving up on stability, being okay with the uncertainty, and as a reward, you'll get so much freedom and flexibility. So think about everything I spoke about so far. Decide whether or not you really want to try this. And then if you do, start making those small changes in your lifestyle. And I think you'll very soon see that now you actually did create the possibility for yourself to go and travel. I know that's all easier said than done, and I know it can be overwhelming and tough. Don't forget that I have a course on this as well, a very straightforward, value-focused course. I made it on purpose very cheap. It's only €6, which means it's one fancy coffee. But it has everything that you need. I talk about how to find work online, how to make friends, how to plan travels, kind of all the digital nomad basics are covered in there. There's absolutely no talking in there. So there's nothing about me. There's nothing personal. There's just, okay, this is how I did it. This is what I recommend you to do, so that you can very quickly see how you could become a digital nomad with everything that has to do with this lifestyle, including simple things like packing. So if you're interested in that, I recommend you to have a look. It's on my website. But in general, of course, I have my podcast that you can listen to every week. I really hope that maybe this helped inspire you a little bit on this journey to becoming a digital nomad lifestyle or traveling solo. Thank you, anyway, for listening again. I hope you enjoyed it. I will be back again next week because I'm dropping an episode on solo travel and digital nomad life every week. It is messy, just like every week, because I am bad at preparing and planning. So I just sit down and I chat. And it's been really nice to get all your comments and ideas. Send me a DM on Instagram if you have any questions, thoughts, feedback. Always Always very happy with that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment wherever it is that you're listening or watching this, because that does really help. Plus, I, of course, really enjoy seeing it. Now I have to go. I've got 3 minutes and then my shift starts for my work exchange. So I'm going to go. I hope you have a really great week, and then talk soon. See you next week. Bye-bye.